Hey guys, what's going on? It's Ben here. I am back again today doing another video. And the subject of today's video is going to be a little bit different than normal. I'm going to be not necessarily analyzing something or um, critiquing something. I'm basically just going to be talking about some of my favorite NBA teams, specifically some of my favorite NBA teams going into this 2019 to 2020 season. So, as everybody does, I feel like you have a certain set of teams that you cheer for, root for, hope they do well, so on and so forth. And so today I'm going to be basically going through the teams that I will be cheering for in 2019 to 20. So, this may seem like kind of a weird concept, but I feel like every year I have sort of like a set of teams that I'm cheering for based on free agency moves and things like that, and just how teams are developing. So I'll tell you a bit about the teams that I basically consistently always cheer for, and then there are some that I kind of cheer for on a year-to-year basis based on how they're doing, or just how their team is developing. But I'll first give you some background on my favorite teams that I basically just always am rooting for. So being from Minnesota, I usually always cheer for the Timberwolves. They are a very frustrating franchise to cheer for, but I do always cheer for them. Um, I was very happy when they had Jimmy Butler and they got to the playoffs. That was super exciting. And then they lost in the first round, but I kind of expected that against the Rockets. Which actually leads me into one of my second favorite teams, which is the Houston Rockets. It really goes back to the days of when they had Ron Artest because I was a big Ron Artest fan, and the Rockets acquired him in 2008, and he did really well that season, and I just really enjoyed watching him play. And then I liked that they had this really cool team with like him, Yao Ming, Tracy McGrady, and Shane Battier. That was a really cool team and like a really good core. Unfortunately, they didn't get far in the playoffs, but after that year, I became a pretty big fan of the Rockets, even though then Ron Artest left. I always really like the color scheme too. I'm a big fan of like the red, white, and black color scheme. I don't know why, it just really appeals to my eyes, so I've always liked that about them. And then when they got James Harden in 2012 and he just started blowing up, I loved it. And I mean, I followed them when they were in the Kyle Lowry, Goran Dragic, Kevin Martin sort of phase with like Luis Scola as their main piece, but that was just an uninteresting time in that they went like 42 and 40 for like three straight seasons, I believe, or they went like 43 and 39 for a few straight seasons and were like the 9 seed every year. But then when they got James Harden, it was like a shot of life into the team, and he was really fun to watch, and so I liked them quite a bit then. And I've been a fan of them ever since. Ever since Artest, as I said, but once Harden came back, it kind of revitalized my interest in the team. So I will be very interested to see how they do with this Russell Westbrook edition, and I will continue to cheer for them. Okay, so let's see here, and then the third team I've cheered for a while now is the Miami Heat. Okay, so originally probably started liking them around 2008 or 9. Again, the red, white, and black color scheme I like a lot. I liked, this is gonna sound weird. I liked Dwayne Wade just fine, but I really liked Jermaine O'Neal. He was a player that I really liked in the mid to late 2000s, and so there was a point where he was on Toronto for like half a season after Indiana had traded him there, and then he got traded to Miami for Sean Marion, and then once he got traded there, I started getting an interest in that team. They had a pretty good supporting cast with like him, Wade, Beasley, Mario Chalmers. So I was somewhat interested in them then at that point. And then when LeBron and Bosh there, I was a big fan of the Heat then. Yeah, you can call me a bandwagoner or whatever. I was a big fan of LeBron and Bosh going there. I very much cheered for them all 4 years that that big three was together. Um, and like there was basically people that loved that and people that hated that, and I was on the side of people that loved it. I'm all for player mobility and forming super teams. I think it's really interesting. Golden State's not as much, but the Heat's was different in that it was still like competitive despite being a super team. Well, either way, super entertaining. And even when LeBron left, I still liked. I began to like Chris Bosh a lot. He became one of my favorite players, and so I still like the Heat because they had Chris Bosh still. Actually, when Chris Bosh almost went to Houston, I got really excited because Houston was one of my favorite teams, and I was excited to see a big three of Dwight Howard, Bosh, and Harden, but that never happened. But he stayed in Miami. I like that. I still cheer for them. I'm not as attached to them as I used to be, like when Bosh was there, but it was cool to see Dwayne Wade's farewell tour, and I'm sad that Bosch had to retire. And I was a big Hassan Whiteside fan. I think that they really misused him in Miami. They were only playing him like 20 minutes a night for the past 2 seasons, basically. I think they really misused him based on his talent. So that turned me off a little bit, but I love Spoelstra as a coach. Some of their contracts are bad, but I'm actually really excited to see Bam Adebayo this year. I was really not a fan of the Jimmy Butler signing. I can tell you more about that in another video if you guys comment below and are interested to hear why. Um, I just I like Bam Adebayo. I like Justice Winslow, all right, but this team is sadly in no man's land. But I'll still cheer for them, and I'll be happy if they make the playoffs. But Wade was sort of one of the last like really charismatic players that they had that really drew you to the team. So now I'm kind of hoping that like Bam becomes that, because right now I don't have a player that I feel really connected to on the team. Like actually a dude that I really liked when he was on there was Wayne Ellington quite a bit, and now he's gone. He's in New York. I liked when they had Amari Stoudemire in 2016, and when they had him and Joe Johnson. I liked that team a lot. They got pretty far, like to Game 7 of the second round. So I like them still, but I'm not as fervent as I used to be when they had like Bosch and Wade, and then when the big three was together. But I still cheer for them. Okay, and then so last year and for the past couple years, I had been a big Wizards fan too. Um, I'll explain. That's one of the teams that I'm not gonna follow this year really, and I'm not gonna be a big supporter of necessarily. But basically, it comes down to when John Wall was in college, I loved watching that Kentucky team play. And when he went to the Wizards, then I became a Wizards fan just because I was a big John Wall fan. And then I really liked the team once they had the lineup of Wall, Beal, Paul Pierce, um, Nene, and Gortat. I really liked that team a lot. That was 2014 to 15. That was that season. I really liked them a lot. I always thought that they were falling short of their potential, but I always thought that they had like a great core with Wall and Beal. And now that Wall is injured for the foreseeable whole upcoming next season, I've dropped off my fanship a little bit just because I'm originally I was a John Wall fan, so naturally when he isn't playing for the team, I'm a little bit less fervent for them. I still did watch some of their games last year actually. It was painful to watch them without John Wall. Um, and last year even my fandom of the Wizards fell off a little bit after he got injured. But I'll still keep an eye on them, but I won't be a fan of them as much. Okay, so let's see here. So those are basically the teams that I've been cheering for in recent NBA history. Like obviously the Timberwolves, Rockets, and Heat I've been cheering for like close to about 10 years now. Since like well, I got into basketball a lot in like 2007. Uh, the season that Garnett got traded to the Celtics. Ironically, I'm a Minnesotan, but when Garnett left is when I got interested in basketball. But that was the season I got really interested. And so I've been cheering for like the Timberwolves ever since then, the Rockets since 2008 when they got Artest, the Heat from around 2009 when they got Jermaine O'Neal. But then obviously the Wizards is more recent, like 2014 Paul Pierce. But now to talk about the teams from this year. Um, so one of the first teams that I'm gonna keep with the Timberwolves, Rockets, and who was the last one that I just named that I can't think of now? Timberwolves, Rockets, and Heat. Yeah, Timberwolves, Rockets, and Heat. I'll still be cheering for. And then the two new teams that I'm gonna be cheering for this year, I think, because I just like a lot how they're rebuilding their team and how they're building it up. I really like Sacramento and I really like Dallas. I just love both of those teams how they're forming. So I was pretty middle of the road on Sacramento last year. Like I really liked the development from Buddy Hield and De'Aaron Fox, but I was still like, I don't know. They just don't have enough for me yet. And then I really loved the Harrison Barnes acquisition. I think that it was underrated, but I think that he is like the perfect third option for that team. He can run fast. He can do some decent shooting. He can score kind of at every level of the court. So I like him as an addition. I like the offseason acquisition of Dwayne Dedman a lot. If you watched my video on centers that I recently posted, I talked a bit about him. I really like him. He can be an improved rim protector over Cauley-Stein. He can shoot three-pointers. He can shoot mid-range. His offense is much more versatile than Willie Cauley-Stein, and his defense is slightly better too, so I think he's a really good addition. Trevor Ariza is a good veteran presence. And then their bench with, I think the bench would probably be like Marvin Bagley, Bogdan Bogdanovic, Bjelica, Yogi Ferrell, Harry Giles. I like that bench a lot, so I'm excited to see this team, but especially like the three-headed monster of like Fox, Hield, and Harrison Barnes. And then the other pieces that I like, as I say, are Dedmon and like Bagley. Okay, so next, the last team that I'm going to be cheering for a ton, like I just previously mentioned, was Dallas. I really like what they did too. I'm a big Luka Doncic guy. I like him a lot. A lot of people prefer Trae Young to him. No, I'm a Luka guy. I love the way he plays. It's just so fluid, and he can score in any way, I feel like. And his step back threes, he can go to the rim. He can just score in every which way, and it's really fun to watch, I think. I really like the Porzingis edition. I think that he may not be 100% when he comes back of what he used to be, but I think he'll honestly be like 80 to 90% because he was even healthy like in late February, March last year, and they just held him out just to make sure he was healthy. So I think he will be healthy when he comes back. I'd expect like 20 points a game, 7 rebounds from him. And then from Luka, I'll expect about 24 points a game, 8 and 8, like 8 rebounds, 8 assists, and I really like their supporting pieces too. I like the Marjanovic that they brought him in. I think he's an upgrade at center. I think he should start at center. They'd have the most vertical front court in the league between Bojan being like 7'3" and Porzingis, depending on who you ask, he ranges between 7'2" to 7'4" for a power forward. So that would just be immense height to have. And then I like Tim Hardaway Jr. as sort of like the third scoring option on this team. I think that's right where he should be on a team. And Courtney Lee, a good wing defender. I liked that trade with the Knicks a lot. That they got a lot of good supporting pieces back. They basically turned Dennis Smith into Porzingis, and they turned DeAndre Jordan, who was kind of fading a little bit. They turned him into Tim Hardaway and Courtney Lee. So that's a pretty good trade in my opinion. JJ Barea is always just an okay dude. I'm not a huge fan. He sucked when he was on the Timberwolves, so I wasn't a huge fan of him then. And they gave him a huge contract too. You can tell I'm still not necessarily over it. But let's see here. Oh, I know a good signing that I love for this team was the Seth Curry signing. Oh, I loved that signing. He's coming back to Dallas. I think he's going to be like a really good sixth man. His shooting is his whole game is underrated. I was going to say his shooting is underrated, but his whole game is underrated. I like it a lot. I like these teams that can space it. Like Sacramento is going to have really good spacing if they have a court of like Fox, Hield, Ariza, Barnes, and Dedmon. All those guys can have decent to good 3-point shots. Same with Dallas. If they have a team on the court that's like, let's see here. Let's just say it's like Doncic, Curry, Hardaway, Porzingis, and Marjanovic. Marjanovic is the only guy that can't shoot. The rest are like I would classify as like good 3-point shooters. So from those two perspectives, I like those teams a lot. I think they're really exciting and fun, and they're on the come up. So those are the two additional teams I'll be cheering for this year. I'll kind of be backing off of the Wizards and starting to watch more games of the Kings and Mavericks and hopping on their trains a bit more. And of course, I'll still keep up with some Heat games and always Rockets and Timberwolves. Those are probably my favorite two, are Rockets and Timberwolves. But then I'm excited to see what the Kings and Mavs will do this year. I don't know if they'll make the playoffs, but people shouldn't be surprised if they do. That's my take on them. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. Hope you have a good day, and I hope to see you next time. Bye.